Hi, now I'll teach you the different types of compliances and why the importance of compliance comes inside our respiratory system. Why we use the word compliance. Compliance is basically the change in volume per unit change in pressure. That just now I told you, but now I'll explain you the importance, the significance of this compliance. So compliance basically tells us that how anything blows up or increases its volume with increase in pressure. While we increase in pressure, while we increase or blowing up a balloon, blowing up any volume is actually increasing pressure and the volume goes up. If it's an elastic body, the volume goes up. So in case of lung also there is an expansion of the volume. So why this expansion of the volume? Because there is a change in pressure. Now when the compliance is at low, suppose there are two values of compliance, C1 and C2. So if C1 is greater than C2, what does that mean? This means that there are two types of compliances, and this compliance is greater than this compliance. And what is the significance of this? So with the same pressure change, this one is going to blow up or get an increase in volume much more than this one when the compliance is C2. So this one is far easy to blow up, and this lung is far less to blow up. Is lesser to blow up. So this lung easily expands and this lung does not expand. The same pressure change will produce much more increase in volume. Why? Because the compliance is greater. The compliance is greater in this lung. So in this lung, the lung will expand to this volume, and here the lung will expand to this little bit volume from the basic volume. Say this was the basic volume in both cases, the same basic volume in both cases, but this one has just increased this fraction and this one has blown up here much more. So why there is a change in this compliance? Why do our lung have different compliances? That I'll explain you. And what is the importance of compliance? That I'll explain you. So we see that the easily blown up lung has a greater compliance. So why does that take place? The differences in compliances in different people, why does that take place? This is because there is a molecule in our lung which are called surfactants. Now what is surfactant? Surfactant is something which decreases surface tension. Surfactant molecule actually decreases surface tension. It decreases surface tension. Now why does these molecules decrease surface tension? It's just like soap. As you suppose I have a bucket of water here. If I pour in a little bit soap here, I add soap here. So what this soap molecule does, if this is now a soapy water, so what does this molecule does? It decreases the surface tension between the water molecules. It decreases the surface tension between the water molecules. And why? And so if we now try to froth this soap with water with a hand, the surface, because of the decrease in surface tension, originally the surface of water was only this. Now there will be bubbles appearing on this water, and the soap bubbles, all the bubbles appearing, so there is a huge frothing, and this frothing is actually why it is an increase of surface tension inside, because the soap molecule, the soap molecules have decreased the surface tension of water. It has decreased the surface tension of water, and as a result, while I give energy while frothing it, the surfaces goes up. There is a huge increase of bubbles over here. So any molecule, soap is actually what? Soap is actually a fat molecule or a lipid molecules. Fat molecules, fatty acids of say sodium, fatty acids of potassium, of alkaline earth. So these are fat molecules. These fat molecules actually decrease the surface tension of water. As a result, the surface tension, decrease in surface tension, there can be a huge increase of water surface from this little bit surface that the water was holding. Now the surfaces are going high, and the frost with the bubbles, each and every bubble piling up one another, there is a huge increase in surface. So this is the role of surfactants in our in the physical phenomenon. I have explained you why the surfactants act in a physical way. Now I'll go into the changes that happen inside our lung. Inside our lung also there are surfactant molecules just like soap, and those surfactant molecules are those lipid molecules. There are different types of lipid molecules in our body, and these lipid molecules are synthesized by type 2 cells. These type 2 cells are present inside our lung alveolar epithelium, and say this is the alveoli. This is the alveoli, and this is the epithelial cells of the alveoli. So in between these epithelial cells there are certain cells which produce surfactants. Say this cell is producing surfactant, this cell is producing surfactant, and they just secrete this surfactant by means of exocytosis, and they liberate this surfactant, and this surfactant gets spread over this lung alveoli in a layer. So there is a fatty layer inside the lung alveoli. This is air, and this is water cell on the surface of the cell. So in this air-water interface, there is a surfactant. These are the surfactant layer inside the alveoli. So this surfactant layer basically what it does? This surfactant layer decreases the surface tension. So that this surface tension, the surface tension of the water was originally, if we consider there is no surface this surfactant molecules, so there was water, and the water is always have a higher surface tension. Just previous to this I told you, water will have more surface tension, and so it will try to collapse the lung. It will try to coalesce, and it will simply try to collapse the lung. The water does not have the property to get spread to this high. There are huge millions of alveoli, and so the lung without this surfactant molecules will try to occupy a single volume, all this frothing of whatever alveoli are there, all these alveoli that are present is like a soap bubbles that I just told you. So all these surfaces together is making up a huge surface inside the lung, and this amount of surface, so we know that the area of the lung is around 85 square meters, so it's a huge area. Actually this area could not have been maintained inside our lung had it been water there. So this fat, basically it's a big huge frothing type of thing took place because of this surfactant, because of this presence of the surfactant molecules, that the type 2 cells of the lung, the type 2 alveolar cells of the lung secretes these surfactant molecules, and these surfactants are mostly phospholipids. The 80 to 90% of these surfactant molecules are phospholipids, and around 10 to 15% are proteins. So while lowering the surface tension, so what does this surfactants do? This is a very important thing. We just now learned compliance, and so what does this surfactants do? They increase the compliance. Why do they increase this compliance? Because they change the property of the lung to get inherently deflated because of huge surface tension of water, and they enable the lung to maintain its huge surface area by lowering the surface tension of the water and maintain its volume. Because there is a huge increase in volume, because of this area getting frothed up, the small area getting frothed up, the lung alveoli, the 85 square meters of area with a huge increase in so the lung is easily inflatable because it has lowered its surface tension. So the lowering of the surface tension results in higher inflatable properties of lung. Inflatable means the change in volume per unit change in pressure. The change in volume per unit change in pressure with surfactants is more. So we can say that the surfactant increases the compliance. It increases the compliance means it increases the inflatability of the lung by lowering the surface tension. Because it was water, we know that 95% of our body is water. The lung epithelium is moistened, so there is water. The water would have resulted that if there was no surface tension, the water, because the surface tension, more surface tension would have resulted the lung to get collapsed. But it will, with the presence of these surfactant molecules, which are basically phospholipids, different types of phospholipids are present. I will come to that. So these phospholipids getting secreted by the type 2 cells lowers the surface tension of the lung, and so the lung can keep its huge surface area as well as it can maintain its volume. So the lung is also very much inflatable because the lung has these surfactant molecules. It is better inflatable. Why it is better inflatable? That I'll explain now. Say, according to Laplace law, pressure inside alveoli is equal to 2T by R. So this Laplace law is for any spherical volume, any volume which is spherical, and this spherical volume is the pressure inside this spherical container will be equal to 2T, the surface tension of this spherical volume, and the radius. The pressure is inversely proportional to radius. So if the radius goes up, the pressure goes down, and it is directly proportional to the surface tension. So if the surface tension increases, the pressure also increases. So because of this, if there is a lowered surfactant being produced by type 2 alveoli, the surface tension goes high and the pressure goes high. So there will be a collapse of the alveoli. Because of the increase in surface tension, because of the increase in this factor T. the alveoli will try to collapse and there will be an increase in pressure. Now I'll go to the properties and the constituents of the surfactant molecules. So just now I told you that surfactant molecules are lipid molecules and they are mostly phospholipids. And what are the types of phospholipids? They are mostly, one major phospholipid that is present in the surfactant molecule are DPPC. DPPC. This is what is called dipalmitoyl phospholipids. Dipalmitoyl phospholipids. So these, along with this phosphatidylglycerol, phosphatidylethanolamine, phosphatidylglycerol, phosphatidylethanolamine, we know that these are all phospholipids because so these are the alcohols, ethanolamine and glycerol. These are the alcohols present on phosphatidic acid. And what we know what is phosphatidic acid. Phosphatidic acid is another glycerol, where for just understanding the phosphatidic acid molecule, just a glycerol molecule where there are fatty acids present, fatty acid presence on these glycerol molecules, and the phosphatidic acid, here there is a phosphate, and on this phosphate there is a presence of, say, another glycerol. This can be glycerol, this can be ethanolamine. So this is phosphatidic acid. So with I have drawn the 3 carbons of glycerol attached with the 2 fatty acids. So this was phosphatidic acid. Why it is phosphatidic acid? So here in the 3rd carbon there is a phosphate linked to this 3rd carbon, and there are different alcohol groups. So this is glycerol, this is ethanolamine, this can be choline here. This is dipalmitoyl phosphatidylcholine. It can be choline, it's another alcohol. So these molecules, these are the lipid constituents of phospholipids, of the surfactant molecules, and these lipids together make up 80 to 90% of the surfactant molecules. These are fatty acids, these are basically fats, and these fats, just like soap bubbles present inside our if we solubilize some kind of liquid soap or any soap inside a bucket of water. So these fat molecules gets inside those water molecules and it decreases the surface area. It decreases the surface tension of water. So likewise, these fat lipid molecules present inside our body secreted by type 2 cells. So there are other proteins also, some around say 10% or 10 to 15% of proteins. So the major protein constituents are SPA. These are the surfactant proteins. The surfactant proteins are called SPs, are denoted by SPs. So there are SPA, SPB, SPC. So these are the surfactant proteins that are present. So these also are secreted by the type 2 cells, and these proteins have fatty acid molecules linked to them, fatty acids linked to these proteins, and these proteins also regulate the surface tension, and it lowers the surface tension and thereby reduces the work of breathing and prevents the lungs to collapse, prevents lung collapse because surfactants with its volume increasing properties, with its easily expansion properties, because the surfactant now can maintain a huge surface area of the lung. It will prevent collapse. It will lower the work of breathing, because it is the lung is now easily inflatable. We know that the elastic tissues of the lung always try to assume a lower volume, always try to get deflated. So this deflation property of the lung, is lowered. It also it's a kind of thing that you can say that it's an anti-sticking molecules. This surfactant are basically anti-sticking molecules, and it is also a kind of thing that it stabilizes against it stabilizes the lung tissues to remain and maintain its volume. It remains and maintains its volumes, and this kind of surfactant molecules are easy. It will always resist lung collapse. So persons who have better surfactant molecules has better compliances, so their lungs can be easily expandable, and they have better stabilized, as well as their work of breathing will always be low. The effort that is needed to expand the lung will be low. So the work of breathing, by the word work of breathing, we say that the effort that the lung requires to get expanded is lower. So surfactants, by reducing the compliances, maintains a huge surface area of the lung, and this surface area is actually required for the diffusion. Why? Because both oxygenation of our body, oxygenation of hemoglobin that is present inside our body, the addition of oxygen inside our blood, it is by diffusion. It is by diffusion in a surface. The huge surface, the diffusion, the liberation of carbon dioxide is also by diffusion. So all these processes inside the lung is actually carbon dioxide liberated, oxygen taken in. So these are all surface dependent processes. So surface lowering of surface tension was actually very important, and to maintain a huge surface area, it is actually very important. Now I have to tell you that the whole thing of surfactants and the pressure volume curves are important. Now I'll go to a little bit different thing related with surface tension, and explanation why lung can maintain. The explanation of I'll give an explanation of something which is very important. Why lung can maintain its huge surface area? Why lung can maintain its huge surface area? Why? The question is why. Now, as we see that there are millions of alveoli, there are millions of alveoli, all are connected to one another, These millions of alveoli are all connected to one another. So they are like this: one here, one here, one here, another one here, another one here, another one here, another one here. So these are, by this common by this common ducts, these are all connected to each other. And everyone has a certain volume, say 2 micrometer cube. 2 is much low, so say 20 micrometer cube. So each alveoli maintains a certain volume. Even each of these alveoli is maintaining a particular volume. It is maybe, so this one, all their volumes are equal. And if this happens, if their volumes are equal, this only will help maintain the lung surface area. Because if someone got bigger and someone got smaller, that would not help. So these 2 alveoli may get evacuated into this, and so at a certain point of time, if I say that these are the 2 lungs, say these are the 2 lungs, and 2 lungs were independent 2 balloons, so that would not help in our surface area. So this is one balloon and this is one balloon. So this balloon is only occupying this surface, this little surface. But if I draw millions of alveoli, millions of rounded alveoli here, the surfaces are increasing. The surfaces are increasing. So more the number of alveoli, more the alveoli are always smaller, more it will have better increased surface. It will maintain increased surface. So if alveoli get bigger, just like an alveoli got bigger and it got the shape of a lung, a size of a lung, so that would be the minimum, the most and the most high, the minimum volume of the lung that this area could, this volume could occupy. So more the number of alveoli, more the number of smaller alveoli here, more will be the surface. Just if you could imagine the frothing of soap bubbles over water, the more the number of bubbles, more the surface area would have been. So any volume getting shrunk and any volume getting increased is not good. So an increase in volume will lower the surface area. And why does this doesn't happen inside our lung? That can be explained by a Laplace law. The Laplace law of spherical volumes states that states that the pressure inside our alveoli is equal to 2T by R. Pressure is equal to pressure inside a spherical volume is equal to 2 surface tension by the radius of the spherical surface. And this not lowering of any volume and not increase of any volume is by this Laplace law. I'll explain this by this Laplace law. Now I'll quickly change my board. I have drawn this. And I'll for an explanation I will quickly change this board in just a few seconds. So I have drawn here two big alveoli. One is this, another one is this. They are interconnected. These two alveoli are interconnected, and here also there are two alveoli which are interconnected. Now this part is without the surfactant molecules and this part is with the surfactant molecules. What changes inside these two alveoli with this surfactant molecules? These are the surfactant molecules. I have given the tails of the fatty acids here, this hydrophobic tails of the fatty acids which interact with each other, and these are the surfactant molecules present inside the lung alveolar epithelium secreted by the type 2 cells. The surfactant molecules which lowers the surface tension. These molecules are drawn here, and here these two alveoli is not having any surfactant molecules. So just now I told you the pressure inside the alveoli is equal to 2T by R. So 2T by R, here it is 2T by R. Now in this 2T by R, I increase the radius. So this alveoli, the radius was 1 centimeter, say 1 centimeter, and in this alveoli the radius has got increased to 2 centimeter. So the radius has increased. So in place of radius I have given 2. 1 has increased to 2. So what happens? If the radius has got increased, the pressure inside the alveoli has lowered, because pressure is inversely proportional to radius. So if the radius gets more, the pressure lowers. So this alveoli, which is having a greater volume, means the radius is because of increase in radius, the volume has increased, and because of this larger volume, the pressure inside this alveoli is now just the 2 and 2 cut out. So P2 is now 1T. Here the pressure was the radius was 1 centimeter, so 2T by 1 centimeter. So pressure was 2T, and now the pressure is 1T. So actually by an increase in in the volume, the alveolar pressure has got decreased. This alveoli is now having lesser pressure. Now this alveoli is having pressure of 1T and this alveoli is having pressure of 2T. So certainly this pressure is greater. Now air is getting pushed into this alveoli, and this alveoli is acting like a suction by these arrows, by these outward arrows. I am just trying to explain you. This alveoli is getting it is having an increase in volume. It is pulling upon that air. It is having a kind of suction here. Here the pressure is more, here the pressure is less, so that it is acting like a suction. So this alveoli will open up to this alveoli and there will be collapse of this alveoli. The alveoli will not be there, and this alveoli will tend to get bigger. More alveoli from surroundings will be, and as it gets bigger, their pressure is getting lowered even more, and more alveoli from the surroundings will get sucked in, and this alveoli is getting bigger, and so eventually it will occupy the full lung volume, and the total lung surface area will go down and down and down, and ultimately the lung will be having the whole lung volume will have a single alveoli within it, and it will not anyway be helpful for our diffusion processes, because the surface area is very important. So the importance here, so somehow I have to tackle this surface tension, and this is tackled by the surfactant molecules. So what this pulmonary surfactant molecules do, they actually lower this T. T is lowered. The surface tension is lowered. While there is an increase in radius. Now what happens in the new scenario, that I'll explain it here, in this part of the curve. Say P is equal to 2T by R, that by now we have completely memorized it. P equal to 2T by R, and P2 is equal to, and here with this I have drawn two alveoli here, an expanded alveoli just like this, and a alveoli that was of original shape, original size. So this is say 1 centimeter, and this is an expanded alveoli with 2 centimeter. Now there is a different scenario here. Why? There is a different scenario from this, because there are surfactant molecules here. So what is that difference in scenario that I am going to explain? Because of the presence of surfactant molecules, the surfactant molecules were lined here. It has a thick layer of lining, thick surfactant lining. This was very thick. Compared to this is getting thinner, while the alveoli are getting this section is getting thinner, and here it is much more thick. A thick layer here, a thin layer, a thinning of layer, and while this thinning of layer is actually because of this thinning of this surfactant layer, what is happening? The surface tension is increased with the presence of surfactant molecules. The surfactant molecules lower surface tension, but if there is an increase in the alveolar diameter, here there is because of this thicker fatty layer and thinning of the fatty layer because of this increase of volume. Now thinning of this fatty layer is not helpful in lowering of surface tension. So with the presence of the surfactant molecules, the T is getting higher. So the T that was present here, it was 1T, say T, and this is getting higher because there is a increase in surface tension because of the molecules of this lower density of these molecules, because it is now spread. The fatty layer is now getting spread across the alveolar wall. So there is a increase in surface tension from T to 2T, and this 2 cut out from the numerator and the denominator. So the pressure is now 2T. The original pressure was 2T. The original pressure was 2T by R1. So increase of this radius from 1 to 2 has not produced any pressure changes. The pressure that was originally 2T is now 2T. Increase because there was an increase of simultaneous, there was a reduction, there is an increase in surface tension. The surface tension is now doubled. Because of this surface tension, in this increase in surface tension, now the pressure of both alveoli is now the same. It is also 2T. But here, without surfactant molecule, the pressure got lowered and there was a suction here, and there was a suction kind of thing, and all the alveoli would have opened up into this larger alveoli, and the larger alveoli would have got more. But here the alveoli, while it is getting, with the presence of surfactant molecules, while it is getting bigger, if it tries to get bigger, the surface tension will increase, and because of this increase in surface tension, the numerator will increase along with the denominator, and they will cancel out their effects to keep the pressure constant, in these alveoli. So this was all about what is the mechanism of action of pulmonary surfactant molecules. The mechanism of action I have just explained it with these two curves. So what are this? So another thing is that I have written it out here. There are opposing traction forces from the surrounding alveoli. There are opposing traction forces from the surrounding alveoli that will not allow the lungs to deflate, or not allow the alveoli to get deflated into single alveoli, because the traction forces also operate, and so lung maintains its millions of alveoli. All the alveoli are there with their minimum volume, with their and keeping up a huge surface area. So that all those diffusion processes that occur inside the lung, the diffusion, the absorption of oxygen inside our body across the lung epithelium, and the removal of carbon dioxide that the blood carries while it enters the lung. The blood is loaded with carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide gets bubbled out into the alveoli. And because these are surface dependent processes, so these surface dependent processes actually requires a huge surface area, and this surface area is maintained because we have pulmonary surfactants. Thank you.